How are you? Good.
Hello, can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Thank you all so much for coming out tonight, especially on such a cold evening. It's so wonderful to see all your faces in this room. My name is Amali, and I'm the events director at Books Are Magic, which, if you don't know, is a lovely little independent bookstore just a few blocks away from here. So we are so excited to be hosting tonight's event, but before we get officially started, I just have a few housekeeping notes to get out of the way. First, I want to give a huge, huge thank you to King Street Synagogue for allowing us to use their incredible space tonight. And I also want to give a special shout out to Soom Foods for partnering with us and providing delicious jars of tahini and pretty cool reusable tote bags for tonight. If we missed you for whatever reason, please see us afterwards because we've got loads of extras. And okay, what else? If you need to use a restroom at any point, they are, I believe, both to the right and left outside those double doors that you came in. And I want to give a big thank you also to those of you who submitted a question for Molly in advance of tonight's conversation. We'll try to get to as many as we can towards the end of the talk. And finally, all of the books tonight, including Molly's previous cookbook and Julia's cookbook, have all been pre-signed. So if you didn't get one, or if you want to grab another, please see our booksellers on your way out. So tonight it is my privilege to introduce Molly Ye and Julia Turshen, who join us tonight to celebrate the launch of Molly's newest cookbook, Sweet Farm, which celebrates a delectable mix of flavors and dishes from both Molly's Jewish and Asian backgrounds, and of course, the many flora and fauna from the family farm. There's so much in this book to sink your teeth into, so let me introduce you all to tonight's wonderful guests. Molly Ye is the Emmy Award and James Beard Foundation Award nominated star of Food Network's series Girl Meets Farm. She is the author of the New York Times bestselling Home is Where the Eggs Are and Molly on the Range, and is the creator of the lifestyle food blog My Name is Ye. Outside the kitchen, Molly is a Juilliard-trained classical percussionist and has performed with ensembles around the world. She lives on a farm on the North Dakota, Minnesota border with her fifth-generation farmer husband, Nick, their two daughters, and, of course, a little flock of chickens. And as I mentioned earlier, Julia Turshen joins Molly in conversation tonight. Julia is the best-selling author of Now and Again, Feed the Resistance, Small Victories, Simply Julia, and What Goes With What, and has co-authored numerous other cookbooks, including the James Beard Award-winning In Beebe's Kitchen. She hosts the IACP-nominated podcast Keep Calm and Cook On, and is the founder of Equity at the Table, an inclusive digital directory of women and non-binary individuals in food. She lives in the Hudson Valley with her spouse, Grace, and their many pets. That's all from me. Please join me in giving them all
Thank you so much. Can you all hear me okay? Great. And I assume the live stream can hear us. This is so great. I love being in Brooklyn with you. This was exciting.
I love being in Brooklyn with you.
I'm gonna ask you a question that wasn't on my list.
Oh no, I hate surprises.
But no, I think it's important for everyone in this room to know. You got here yesterday. What did you eat today before you joined us here?
I ate Bread's babka times 3. I had Bread's hamantaschen
times 3.
Bread's brekas, and then we went to and a lot of Bread's egg salad. I didn't realize their egg salad was like a sleeper hit.
What makes it so good?
It's so good.
You've got a thumbs up here.
It's very oniony. Very creamy, but not too creamy. And then it comes with their really soft challah.
Oh, perfect.
And we were talking about tuna melts earlier, and I'm afraid of mush on mush, but I take it back because now I'm thinking about the soft challah with the mushy.
Soft
egg
on
salad,
soft is somehow different than mush on mush, somehow,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
I get it. I get it.
Yeah, but tuna melt needs a crust. So then I ate a tuna melt with a great crust. And that was from S&P restaurant. and a knish, which was deep fried. It was delicious.
What?
That is crunch with mush.
What was inside?
Potato.
Potato.
So it's crunch.
Classic potato.
Mush.
Are you a mustard?
I did mustard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These are important details. I think you all agree.
Definitely mustard. Do you do
friends.
mustard?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You
I
need
think
it to cut it.
I agree.
Yeah.
But I was so pleasantly delighted by the fried
Yes.
shell
Yeah.
that it would have been delicious without it.
Yeah.
And I washed it down with an egg cream.
Ooh.
Which is very exciting.
Chocolate?
Yes.
Yeah.
And also a vanilla.
Like a black and white or like two side by side?
Two different ones.
Okay.
And the vanilla one had vanilla bean in it. I don't know if Fox's You Bet has vanilla bean in it. Can anybody confirm or deny
That
this?
I'm not sure. Okay.
There
There will be a
really
follow-up.
good.
There will be a follow-up email.
They were flex.
That sounds so good. Okay, thank you for those details. I wanted them. I think everyone here probably wanted them.
There's some extra hamantaschen upstairs.
Yes, if anyone's hungry. Congratulations on this beautiful book.
Thank you.
Here it is. You're all, I believe, taking one home. How did this book come to be? Why another book?
This was always a book that I dreamt
Uh-huh.
of writing. Sweets have been my number one source of creative fulfillment for as long as I can remember. Back when I was blogging regularly, it was a mostly baking and a mostly sweets blog. It was just, I get the most amount of creative satisfaction making sweets than I do anything else. And then I married a sugar farmer. So I couldn't not write this book.
Handy.
I knew that I didn't want it to be my first book, though. That's how special this book is to me. I knew that I wanted to write a couple of books and kind of learn how to write books and get recipe writing to a level where I really felt like I could do these sweet recipes justice. And so I knew that I had to write this book.
Yeah, that's really cool to hear. So it's been in you for a long time.
Yes.
You wanted to be ready for it.
I wanted to be ready, and these recipes have been, a lot of them have been in me for a very long time.
That's very cool. How did you know you were ready? You just felt like you had enough experience writing the recipes?
I had such a good experience writing Home is Where the Eggs Are.
Which is such a good book. It's such a good book. It's so good.
Thank you.
Anyway, sorry.
I just,
I just love it. I love this. I'm a fan.
I'm going to cry hearing you say that, Julia, because I love you and your books so much. And this feels surreal talking to you right now about that. But I found this team that I just love working with, my publishing team who's here, and my photography team, my food stylist team, and my stylist team too. It's when you find the right team that feels like a family, you feel like you can just thrive creatively. And that's how I felt with Home is Where the Eggs Are. And when that finished, I just immediately wanted to make so many cookies.
I love that. I think you've built this team that feels like a family, and I want to talk more about that and sort of the recipe writing of it all. But you yourself have built a bigger family. And so much about this book, and what I love about it is just, there's a lot of history in the book and there's a lot of family in the book. And you mentioned you conveniently married a sugar farmer, way to go. And you dedicated, I wrote this down to get it right, you dedicated this book to the generations of farmers that came before us. So much of this book is about your life on a sugar beet farm. And as someone who I live in the Hudson Valley. I used to live here, but no more. And I live near a lot of farms. I've worked on a farm. So I loved reading all about the farm and just feeling like I could kind of be there a little bit. So
you're welcome anytime.
Yeah. Oh, careful what you invite. I might not leave. What is your relationship to farming? And I guess a two-part question. That, and then also just so you know what's coming. What have you learned about farming since moving there and having your family there and everything?
It's a complex relationship. It's a growing relationship, which feels strange to say because I've lived there 12 years now. If I had lived in New York that time, I'd be a New Yorker by now. But the farm turns 150 next year.
Wow. Wow.
So it is very, very special to be part of something that is so much bigger than me, that has such a deep, rich history, and that has the potential for such a long future. And I love that I'm one day just going to be a leaf on a family tree, and my great grandkids will look back and be like, "Oh yeah, great grandma Molly, she put the cookie cutter pegboard in the pantry," which is a very new feeling for me because I grew up in the suburbs. We lived in a few different houses growing up, and there wasn't always that connection to a physical place and to a land. And now that is just something that we're always thinking about, whether it's just on a personal level and on a family level. Telling these stories about these past generations. One of the best parts about writing this book was I got to sit down with a close friend of the family that is a historian, and he studies a lot about the region in Norway where Nick's family came from, and he knows a lot about just the history of our region and the history of farming. So learning about that was something that it kind of brought me to tears because I've never felt like I have been part of something like that, tied so strongly to a physical place.
Yeah.
It on a recipe level, it is really cool to see sugar and wheat come to life before my very eyes. I didn't know what a sugar beet was until I started dating my husband when I was living here. And I didn't know that half of our country's sugar comes from sugar beets. I didn't know the smell of a wheat field. When a wheat field is ready to be harvested, it smells like pizza. It's
amazing.
Wonderful. And it's gorgeous, it's golden, there's nothing else like it. There is land for as far as the horizon, and it's just beautiful. It's muddy.
Yes, very muddy.
And it's challenging raising little kids when the job of a farmer is pretty relentless during the harvest season. He wakes up before I got out of bed and, comes in after I go to sleep. And so with little kids, that is a whole other level of challenging. But I have a really mixed relationship with the term farm wife, but I have come to really wear it with pride.
Yeah.
Because I have formed a great bond with other farm spouses, and I just am proud to be a part of this farm and proud to be a part of this really strong legacy.
Yeah.
And excited to leave my mark on the family.
Yeah. I love what you said about being a leaf on the family tree. I mean, that's so beautiful. There's an amazing cook and baker that I'm friendly with named Mona Talbot. Has anyone here ever been to Hudson, New York? Yeah, it's not where I live, but I'm in the Hudson Valley, and she and her wife run a shop there that's amazing. And Mona's just like such a good cook. And I was talking to her once, and she said, I promise I have a point. She said, when I asked her how she describes the kind of food she cooks, she said I don't mean to put words in her mouth, this was a long time ago, but she basically described being the person in the farmhouse making the food while everyone's out kind of working. And that's who she was, like as a person, as a cook, like I will take care of this in here. And I've just never forgotten it. It was so beautiful. And I feel like it's interesting to me to hear your sort of evolution with the term farm wife and being the person in the kitchen and being the person writing down these recipes and putting the farm in a book, which is, creating legacy. Like it's important. It's really important. I don't have a question. I just wanted to say that.
I think that's really beautiful.
Yeah.
Because I think about that a lot too. It's no secret that Nick doesn't know how to cook. Yeah. So many farmers, they finish their day and they go and eat McDonald's, and I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah. Yeah.
You have all of you could be growing so much food for you to eat, and it doesn't stop there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So Nick does the first half of the job,
Yeah.
I do the second half of the job.
Yeah.
They're very different.
But they're both integral. and and yours is integral. So speaking of this region and being on the farm, which is in this specific place, has been there for so long, I feel like that also really comes through in the book. There's so many regional recipes, which to me in any cookbook is just my favorite thing. Like, I've loved cookbooks since I was a little kid because I felt like I got to go everywhere. Like, I opened the cookbook and I was like in a different country or in a different part of this country. And so there are some things in this book that I had never seen before. And I was wondering if you could kind of bring us home a little bit. We're sitting in this room in Brooklyn. Can you tell us a little bit about what's being baked and consumed at home, what you chose to put in here? What are some things people might not know of?
Wait, can I make you your first cookie salad?
Yes, I've never had one. Raise your hand if you've had a cookie salad. Okay. Did you make Molly's? You had a different, okay, you're familiar with it. You will be. We're all gonna be making cookie salad.
Wait, raise your hand if you want to try a cookie salad, or if the term cookie salad grosses you out.
Raise your hand if you have no idea what we're talking about. All right. Tell us, what is a cookie salad?
Right.
And yes, please make my first ever cookie salad. I won't say no.
If you open up any regional cookbook in my area, whether it's a community cookbook or a church cookbook, we don't have synagogue cookbooks.
Now you do.
There will be large chapters on salads. Maybe 2 of them have vegetables in them. So you've got your cookie salads. You've got your Snicker salads, you've got your Jell-O salads, and there are just so many different types of these glorious dessert salads that I think is mainly quirky in their name. If I were to call them trifles, you would know what I'm talking about, right? Yeah. The classic cookie salad is Keebler fudge stripe cookies, Jell-O instant pudding, buttermilk, and canned mandarin oranges. You are in shock right now. I'm so sorry. It's good.
Yeah.
I like it. And then there's the Snicker salad, which is chopped Snickers, chopped Granny Smith apples, Jell-O instant pudding. Cool.
What?
Cool Whip. Wait, did I say Cool Whip the first time?
No.
Buttermilk, and then you always have to fold everything with Cool Whip.
To bind it.
To bind it all together,
Yeah.
so that it's kind
like
of
it's the mayo of sweet.
It is the Miracle Whip. You got your Miracle Whip and you've got
And
your
your
Cool
Cool
Whip.
Whip.
What salad do you want to make?
Yeah.
It's like a non-frozen ice cream in a way.
Yeah.
Like if you were to freeze it, that's sort of like a no churn ice cream. But I also know that Pooja is in the audience, and I don't want to throw offense to ice cream. Okay, so here's my favorite thing about the sweet salads is you don't eat them with the desserts. So there's a very unique bite that you must experience if and when you come to the Midwest, which is that you put them on the potluck table. So these are an integral part of potlucks. And on the potluck table, you have the casseroles, hot dishes, and then the salads. And you might have a green salad, but all of the cookie salads and the pasta salads are there. And then you do a scoop of, you guys are getting so gross out right now. You do a scoop of the tater tot hot dish, and then you do a scoop of the cookie salad. And then when you're done eating, you have this one strange fork full of food at the end of your plate that is a little bit of each.
It's sweet and salty. That's not weird.
Thank you, Julia.
Yeah.
Very unique.
Yeah.
So I really like having fun with this equation of the sweet salads, making pudding, making, if you're making a fresh whipped cream, there are so many different things you can do with it. Making your cookies from scratch, obviously, playing with the fruits. My favorite cookies, I have 2 favorite cookie salads in here. One is my Pistachio Delight, which is a pistachio cookie with just a great vanilla bean, homemade custard, and then some rose water and some rose macerated raspberries in there. And it's lovely. Thank you.
Yeah, that sounds so good.
And raspberries, pistachio, rose. I think there's some coconut in there too. It all comes together really nicely. And again, if if I were to call it a trifle, we could put that on a menu in Brooklyn, maybe.
Yeah, sell it for a lot of money.
And then there's a black and white cookie salad, which came out of necessity because black and white cookies get dry pretty quickly. And cookie salad is to cookies what French toast is to bread. So it's a great way of bringing cookies back to life if they're a little bit dry. And with that, there's kind of a mascarpone base. It's almost like a no-bake cheesecake with the cookies in there. And then I like strawberries in that one too. So have I sold you? Thank you.
I love that you stick with the name, and you're not calling them a trifle, and it's true to where you live. And I love the potluck culture of it all. Like, there's so much community, I think, in sweets in general. Like, and you write about this. Like, you're not often baking just for yourself. You're baking to share. And I feel like they're so emblematic of that.
And that's such a special thing about living in a smaller town in the Midwest is that we're not getting a dozen new restaurant openings every week. We have each other over for dinner when we want to eat together, and we have our cookbook clubs, we have our potluck clubs, we are always just going to people's houses and cooking for each other. There isn't such a strong restaurant culture, and so that's what we do. And that's what my favorite thing about getting to know this region has been. It's been getting to know the region through the food, because when I moved to Grand Forks, I didn't really know how to connect with other people. And when I started digging into these recipes that have been in people's families for generations, that's when I felt like I was truly able to get to know my community and forge these relationships.
Yeah, I mean, what you're describing is just community, and it's so beautiful. And I feel like the way in which you experience it there is very different than I think we have experienced it here in the city. I know it's different. It's changed for me leaving. Grace, my spouse, and I have lived in our house for not quite as long, but for 10 years, so nearly as long. And yeah, it's been a big change. So I guess, how was that for you? How was that change when you first moved? It sounds like you've found your way into it, but how was it at the beginning?
Yeah. Well, first, I will say it was connecting with people was a challenge. And coming from New York, after living in New York, I was here for 6 years for college, and for a few years after that, I felt like I had eaten all the cuisines.
Yeah.
And I was a little bit of a snob, and I thought, I don't know what more foods there are to really learn about here. And boy, was I wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
So wrong. The casserole culture is amazing.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Salads, and then there's the Scandinavian influence, like lefse, krumkake, so many delicious cardamom and almond flavored sweets that just jive with my taste buds so well.
No, and you, I feel like we all benefit from the things that jive with your taste buds, because your recipes, they've always been and continue to be just like, there's just so much flavor and particular combinations of flavor, and all the flavor points to someone or something, which is just so cool. So with that in mind, yeah, totally. I was just wondering if we could spend a little time. I think you and I could get very carried away with this, so I'm just gonna watch the clock for us. But I was wondering if we could spend a little time just talking about how these recipes come to be. I feel like we've talked about sort of where they come from, who they connect us to, but the actual kind of nuts and bolts of writing recipes. I would just love to like compare some notes, which I think would be cool. And if it sounds like insider baseball, but I feel like anyone who chose to be here on a Monday night maybe is interested. Okay.
I love this stuff.
So yeah,
let's do it.
What's your process?
So a lot of times it starts in the middle of the night.
Okay, yes, as most good things do.
Yeah, or in the shower, right? And I have a notepad of recipes I want to make, things that sound good, whether it's inspired by a family member or a friend or something I saw on the internet, or a bakery that I visited where I traveled. And then I kind of make notes of that, and then when it's time to develop the recipe, I like to read a lot of versions of that recipe that exist elsewhere in books and online and in magazines, or just similar recipes. And I love the research phase. I love cooking through other people's recipes and figuring out things that I really loved and techniques that I found were really nifty and kind of making notes of those. And then I kind of marinate on that a little bit more and just kind of live with the recipe for a while, and then I'll write
Like
out.
in your mind, living with it, or at this point, have you written anything? Depends.
It depends.
Yeah,
Sometimes I know what flavors I want to use, and with the black and white cookie salad, that didn't really exist anywhere.
Yeah.
And so I wrote down, okay, obviously black and white cookies. I want there to be lemon there. I want there to be mascarpone. I want there to be heavy cream, strawberries, vanilla bean, and then I'll write down an ingredient list. I'll write down what I think the amounts will be, and then I'll cook through it, and then make some notes, and then do tweaks. And I have a Google Doc. We're really getting into this.
Yeah, no, I love it. Yeah.
Cool. Google Docs for every single recipe, and then every time I cook through them, I date it, and then I make notes at the top, like this had too much salt, or this had too much lemon, or whatever, and then I copy it and I paste it for version 2.
So you keep all the versions.
Every single version, because it will happen a lot of times where I we'll get to, some of these recipes got to 20, 30 versions.
Wow. Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well, what if I try this? And then I look back and it's like, no, 3 months ago I did try that, and this is what I thought of it. And so I keep all of it, and then when I copy and I paste it, I decide, okay, this needs an extra quarter teaspoon of salt, so I double that, and then I bold it, so I know what's different. So each version, I know what's different, and then I make the notes. And it might be a couple of months that goes by between each version, but I know I have my notes that say, okay, next time do this, don't do this, etc.
Wow.
And then I have Amy test them all. Amy's here.
Amy
Hi,
here?
Amy.
Thank you, Amy.
And she cooks through them all, and then she gives me her notes, and then that might be a time for me to then take those notes and really change it, or she might say thumbs up, it's great, and then I feed it to everybody who will allow me to feed it to them. That's it. Okay, what about you?
Well, I don't think I work as hard as you.
I doubt that.
I'm so fascinated about this process of saving all the drafts and referencing them. I think that's really cool. I like you, I write my recipes before I test them. I just find it much more efficient.
But also, you've developed so many recipes to a point where you know how much sauce goes on the pasta, how much filling goes in the sandwich.
It's a guesstimate.
It's a guesstimate, but it takes it took me a while to get there.
No, and I hear you on the writing other books, which were wonderful, but before writing this book that you felt very destined for, because my background is, I worked on a lot of other people's cookbooks before I ever did my own, which was an amazing experience because I got to learn the process before putting my name on it. But yeah, I write them, I imagine how I'm gonna make them. My sort of starting point is very similar to yours, like inspiration comes from everywhere. I have things written down on, I have a million notebooks and I just don't use them. I just use scraps of paper.
You like writing?
I like writing in general.
But like pen?
So when it comes to keeping track of recipes, writing my drafts, typing.
Okay.
But I print them out, bring them into my kitchen, then I test them.
That's so nice.
And I write notes on them. And then I just update. I don't have all the versions. I just keep updating till I feel like it's ready. But
what happens to the page with the notes?
I used to save them all, and then one day I was like, what am I going to do with this? I still have some. I don't know. I have a lot of stuff.
Those are going to be worth a lot of money one day.
I don't know about that. I just did, whatever, you don't need the whole backstory. I did this event a few days ago, Friday, in Westchester, which is where I went to high school. And my high school principal came to the event, which was so surreal. And I was like, I just found report cards you wrote notes on. And he was like, why did you find that? Because I do hold on to a lot.
They're nostalgic. They're
Yeah,
sentimental.
yeah, I hold on to some stuff, but in the process, I'm not really referencing the past. I keep moving forward, but I don't know. There's something very cool about that. And then I also have, I have my version of Amy. I have Haley, who cross-tests all my recipes, which I think is a really important thing because we as cookbook authors, we're not, I think as much as we like to be, we're not in everyone's kitchen every time they make something. You want to make sure it works when you're not there.
There's so many variables.
Yeah.
And so many things that I think that we do that are unspoken.
Yes.
To sometimes just kneading the dough until it feels just so, and adding just this right amount of flour. And there are a lot of very specific things that happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like, I test my recipes. I make them before I have them cross-tested just to make sure, they're in good shape. But there's always something that I'm like, well, I know what I mean.
Yes.
But it sounds like, our processes are pretty similar, which is cool to hear. And maybe you're just maybe a little bit more organized, which
No.
I admire.
I like that you print out the recipes because if you saw the crumbs in my computer keyboard, you'd all be so grossed out.
I feel like I think at the end of the day, I've just learned about myself. I'm like quite analog. Like,
that's awesome.
I make books. You make books. You were too. Yeah.
Books are so great.
Well, you actually, this is a perfect segue that I didn't plan. You do more than make books. You do so many other things. And I'm wondering specifically when it comes to the recipes, how do you know when a recipe is a book recipe as opposed to like for your TV show or for your bakery or for the internet, or like what makes a book recipe a book recipe?
I love this question.
Okay.
I love books. I love book editors. My editor, Cassie, is here. Because they give you so much creative freedom.
Uh-huh.
And so with these books, I truly felt like I was riding on the bike without the training wheels.
Mm-hmm.
I could just go, and I could go as far as I wanted to go and just play with so many flavors that I love so much. With the show, it's like, okay, you've done tahini recipes every single episode this season. You need to stop because you're going to lose that part of the audience. Or with the restaurant, it's like, man, I spent so much time on this Morning Glory muffin that had rose water or orange blossom water in it, and nobody bought it, so we couldn't sell it. And I loved that muffin so much, and I spent so much time on it. But with the book, I don't have to worry about any of that.
That's great. I love that. Has your recipe writing for your books changed in any way with all these new places of input you have, like customers at the bakery or people watching TV? Like, does that change what you do here?
A little bit. I mean, some of the recipes in here are favorites from Girl Meets Farm just because I loved them so much. And the desserts on Girl Meets Farm were always the recipes that I was most excited about. It was always the recipes that we devoted the most amount of time in the day to. We film those first because everybody on the crew knows that I'm going to have the most energy for them. I'm going to spend the most time on them, and I'm just going to get the most excited. And so, so we do those first, and then a lot of them, what was the question again? A lot of them were in there, and then at the bakery, it's really cool to see feedback in real time, which I have to take with a grain of salt because of the whole muffin thing.
Yeah. I understand.
There are also some granola bars in here that we sold on opening day, and we sold out of everything. Not one granola bar though.
Wow.
But I love them so much.
That's interesting.
I know, right?
Yeah,
whenever I see a granola bar at a bakery, I go for it because it's vaguely wholesome.
You've been there.
And I've been there, and I feel bad for it, but that was really good.
I think it's nice to get something that you can take with you and have later.
Right, it's a good snack.
Yeah.
It's a good snack for later.
Yeah, I'm pro granola bar.
But it was fun though to kind of go into the kitchen at Bernie's and test recipes and know that I could also put them behind the case and talk to customers and see how they like things, and just it was a very efficient way of getting as much feedback as possible.
I'm asking this question for a friend. What is your relationship to feedback? Like, do you enjoy receiving it? Do you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
I really do. But if I really love something,
Yeah.
there's no amount of feedback that's
Yeah.
going to keep me from putting it in the book.
Yeah.
I mean, there
That's
are those
good.
recipes that I just feel so strongly about
Yeah.
that either I just love the flavor or I just love the statement that they're
Yeah.
making. And I'm okay if nobody makes them.
Yeah.
Ube fluff is what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Ube fluff.
Tell us more. Tell us more.
Okay, so a fluff is a subset of sweet salads that is kind of the
I
child
think we
of
need
a
the
Jello salad.
the sweet salad family tree.
Oh, that would be awesome. That's a fun visual. That's my next art project. A fluff is, I think it's the least loved subset because always when you see them at the grocery store, we have them at the grocery store in the prepared food section, by the way, which is really fun. But the fluffs are always kind of the last to get picked for the team. Jello and Cool Whip and fruit. But like not molded together in a neat mold, kind of just, you take a fork to it and you almost make like a granita.
Yeah.
And my very, 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 very distant family member by like 6 marriages, who we always celebrate 4th of July with, her name is Marguerite. She has this fluff that she puts tapioca into, which I thought was very delightful. It was, the texture was so chewy and bouncy and fun. And that, of course, reminded me of getting bubble tea.
Yeah.
And I love ube bubble tea, and that's how that was born. And this recipe was a total journey, just experimenting with the formats of ube that I was able to find in Grand Forks and that I was able to get from the internet, paired with this tapioca, paired with this Cool Whip mixture. Took a lot of tests.
Yeah.
And I also think that nobody's going to make that recipe, but I believe in
No,
that
but it's
recipe.
important that it's here. No, we've got,
Kara's gonna make it.
But it's, I don't know, even someone will, you will. But even if no one did, there's still a place for it. Like it's like you just brought us to so many places in that description. Like
That recipe could not have existed, I think, 20 years ago where I live, because you could not have gotten ube there.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah.
Well, I wrote about 20 more questions for you. I could talk to you all day happily, but I want to leave time for all the questions you all sent in, because you all sent really great questions. But I'm just gonna, on the 20 I didn't get to, I'll ask you one before I move to audience questions. I mean, I want to know the answers to all. We'll just have to have dinner, but
We need a speed round.
yeah. I'm just curious about music. Are you drumming? Where does the percussion happen? Does it happen?
I play the egg shakers in my 3-year-old's baby class.
Hey, important. I bet you're the best one.
I am.
Not a competition, but
I keep the other parents in line with
yeah. And is that something like you wish you did more of, or
Yes.
is it? Yeah.
The freelance music scene in Grand Forks, North Dakota is not what it is now. But no, I would love to. I have all my instruments in my basement, and that is something that I want to get back into all the time.
Cool. Yeah. No, I always just knowing what a big part of your life and story that is. I just wonder with all the pots you have on the stove, like where that fits in.
I'm playing the pots and pans.
Yeah,
Literally.
Literally.
That was my first percussion instrument, was my mom's pots and pans.
Okay, you have to start somewhere. Well, okay, let me move on to these. You guys sent in amazing questions. I don't know who each question is from, but if you recognize your question, you can wave at Molly if you want. What is one aspect of Midwest food culture that you think New Yorkers could learn from? I love that question.
Ooh. You know what I love? You guys are so spoiled with your vegetables. Like, it seems like all year round you get really good vegetables. And something that I had to learn to adapt to in the Midwest was just learning how to be really resourceful with the produce during the winter, and eating a lot of kimchi and a lot of sauerkraut and a lot of pickles, and really learning to love so many hearty winter greens.
Yeah.
But also, New Yorkers know everything. You guys don't need to learn kimchi.
It's the perfect answer. Someone else wrote, which I think is such a lovely question. My husband and I are in an interfaith, intercultural marriage. I am Filipino and Catholic. He is Jewish. What are some of your tips for fun ways to integrate cultures when it comes to celebrating holidays, cooking Shabbat dinners, etc.?
I say just do it all. Do it all and be really excited about it. I mean, my favorite way of teaching my kids about my cultures and my husband's cultures are through food, obviously. So just getting them into, or getting them to help make Turshen or steam buns or pot stickers or whatnot. And just talking about it too, and telling the stories and reading. I mean, so many children's books have been written about every single culture and combining cultures. I mean, there's this awesome book called Chicken Soup that's about a girl named Sophie Chang who has a bubby who makes the best matzo ball soup and a nai nai who makes the best wonton soup. Oh, I love that book so much. Yeah.
How many times do you think you've read it?
1 million.
Yeah. That's amazing. And you still love it. That's amazing.
So good.
Well, this is sort of a similar question, a good follow-up to that one. Are there any recipes from the book that you make with your children? Do you want to name a couple?
They love pancakes. There's a great wild rice pancake. Do you guys get a lot of wild rice here? Well, you can. Okay. Wild rice.
I don't think it's appreciated as much.
Okay, so there's my answer to the last question.
Yeah. It's an amazing ingredient.
It's so good. And in Minnesota, it's like if you everybody knows someone who knows someone that has just harvested some wild rice. And so you can get really fresh wild rice if you just kind of put it out into the world that you're looking.
Especially if you're trading for like a cookie salad.
Oh,
right?
Totally. Or a wild rice salad. That's another. That was actually a recipe that didn't make it into the book, which I have a regret about because it was so good. We just couldn't get the texture right, but I am going to get
your
back
next
to that.
one.
Yeah. But we put wild rice in pancakes. And it's really texturally delightful. It adds chewiness, it adds nuttiness. And so my favorite thing to do on a Sunday morning is for my kids to sit on the counter, whisk the eggs. Well, not now. Now we try to go eggless. And just dump in the cinnamon. Yeah. Because it's hard to screw up a pancake.
Yeah.
So even if they just dump the whole entire jar of cinnamon in there, they're going to be fine.
Yeah. Flavorful.
We're really clear out this thing.
I'm just imagining the dust, the cloud. If you were not doing what you're currently doing, which is, I'm going to add about 25,000 things, what would be your job?
Who asked this question? Is this in a dream world where I can have other skills?
Oh.
Any skills.
Oh. That's a great follow-up question.
Ooh,
yeah.
Do you know I love Broadway shows? I love the singing and singing. I would love to be able to dance and sing and do that.
Yeah, cool. Oh, I love that. I think that could happen.
I think that would be so much fun. That or like be in Hallmark movies.
You would be so good. Does anybody here work at Hallmark?
There's a connection.
Who do we know? You're made for that. That would be great.
Kansas City for that.
Yeah.
What's Kansas City?
That's where Hallmark is based.
Oh, that's a hop, skip, and a jump from me.
Yeah, that's not far. Okay, all right. We're manifesting. What advice do you have for someone who's looking to find a way to make food, cooking, baking, not just a hobby, but a profession?
I mean, I'll talk about how I did it, which was just to focus on social media and grow following that way. And the two most powerful things in that were forming connections with other bakers and people who are posting about food, and then working on food photography and now videography, because the visual is so strong. And a third thing is developing your voice and cooking things that really mean something to you and are things that you feel like you can share that are personal, whether it comes from something that's heritage inspired or something that you have found this great new technique for. Add something new. Don't add another chocolate chip cookie recipe to the internet where there are already 5 million. But add your own spin on it. Tell your story with it. Do a new technique, and find an effective way of sharing it with others.
Yeah, that's great.
But there are so many different ways. I mean, work in a bakery, work in publications and magazines or whatnot, and do recipe development or food writing there. And one thing I did when I was still living here and I was fresh out of college and I wanted to kind of get into the freelance music and also food writing scene was I told myself for as long as I could, I was going to say yes to every single opportunity that came my way, whether it was in food or writing or music, and that opened a lot of doors. And some of those things, weren't paid. It was just kind of following people around and offering to assist them and just kind of learn that way. But I think saying yes to a lot of things and just putting yourself out there is goes a long way.
That's all great advice. No, I'm like taking notes. Can I add something to that that's just on my mind? Which is, I absolutely, I'm not here to be like the Grinch. I just think sometimes it's okay for it to be your hobby. Because I think working in food is it's really hard. And I don't know, I feel compelled to say that. And I think that so much about what I love about food, what I think we both share, like sometimes when it becomes your job, those things get a little far away.
I agree.
Yeah.
And
I don't mean to discourage anyone. I feel like I've been in rooms where this question has been asked in a way, and I just wish someone had said that.
I like that you're saying
that.
And I love that you brought up hobbies because I think that having a hobby that is different from your job, no matter what that is, makes you better at your job.
Yeah.
No matter what that is.
What are your hobbies? Before I'm throwing in an extra question.
I'm in a tap dance class.
Amazing.
Yeah, Tuesday nights. I'm in a tap dance class. I do a Parent and Me dance class with my 3-year-old
That's really
too.
sweet.
And half the time it's just her standing in the corner and me just busting a move.
So tomorrow night you're not home. Are you going to be tap dancing in a hotel room? Or are you?
Yeah, in these shoes I'm going to try.
When we were getting ready to come out here, I was admiring Molly's shoes, and she's like, "What shoes are you wearing?" I don't know if everyone can see my sneakers, the same ones I've worn since high school. Yours are amazing.
I had those in high school too.
They're not the same. They're not the same pair.
No, I can tell.
I've changed
Yeah. Once you get a pair of sneakers that you like, though, you've got to keep.
Yeah, I'm upset though because these have become hip and now they're expensive and it's annoying.
That said me. That's awesome.
Anyway, sorry, I just got really carried away. Okay, All right,
I was a navy blue. We would have been friends.
Yeah, we would have been friends in high school. Totally. Oh my God.
Did you have a cheese club in high school?
No.
I had a cheese club in high school.
Sorry, hold on. I need to pause here. It was established or you started it?
No, I didn't start it. Mr. Zappler, this history teacher, started it. He was so cool. And we would just get together and taste fancy cheese. So it was like cheese club on Tuesdays, math club on Thursdays.
I love that. That's a great way to teach history.
I don't think there was any history education.
I was trying to find something.
But that is a great geography.
Yeah.
That's an awesome way.
Yeah. I love that you're.
High school history. I should do.
Yes.
Do a cheese lesson.
High school history teacher here. You're going to do a cheese lesson. There's cheese everywhere. And it's old. Yeah.
The map of cheese.
Yeah. Oh, I love this.
World of cheese.
I love this.
I would like to come and visit that day.
We'll be there for those samples. Okay, cheese club, incredible. I want to start one now. Okay, what is one thing you miss most about living in New York City? Don't overthink it. First thing to come to mind.
The hand-pulled noodles.
Those
are so good.
Yes.
They take a while to make.
Yeah. I hear you on that. Hard to find where I live. What is your go-to cocktail order? What is your go-to cocktail to order? Water.
Turmeric ginger tea.
What? Okay. Still water, sparkling, ice, lemon.
Still okay. Actually, can I? Here's my beverage routine. It's the same every day. I wake up, I have 3 cups of decaf green tea,
Okay.
usually by 11 a.m. or 12. And then in
Hot.
the afternoon, hot.
Hot.
And then in the afternoon, I have turmeric tea. And then at night, I have this awesome Yogi Tea makes a cinnamon horchata stress and sleep tea.
Ooh.
And that's what I have.
Wow.
Yeah.
How do you stay awake?
I sleep now.
Now you sleep
Yes,
because you're not.
back when I drank a lot of coffee, I
Yeah,
didn't sleep.
yeah. Sleep.
That's what I
yeah.
thought of all the ideas though. So
Yeah.
I think when it's time to write the next book, I need to start drinking coffee and not sleeping anymore. So I can have ideas in the middle of the night. Vicious cycle.
It's creativity sometimes comes from not the best.
I do like
habits.
an amaretto sour every once in a while because I love almond.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very, I think.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
okay.
So good.
Good.
They're
It's
delicious.
Like almond juice, like marzipan juice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Amaretto is delicious.
Love it.
This is a fantastic question. What recipe from the book took the most passes to perfect? You mentioned there was ones that were like 20 or 30.
Okay, so multiple of the recipes in the book use an all-purpose enriched dough that I wanted to make the moistest, softest, most fluffiest enriched dough in existence. But I also wanted to be a little bit lazy about it. I didn't want to use a starter like a tangjong. And I'm really into potatoes. We live in potato region. It's sugar beet, wheat, corn, potatoes. So I love to incorporate a lot of potatoes into my sweet recipes. And potato flour is an amazing ingredient in that it absorbs so much moisture. So you can add more liquid to a dough when you're using part potato flour than you would if you were just using all-purpose or bread flour. But then if you use too much, then the texture gets a little gummy and weird. And so finding that ratio in this all-purpose enriched dough was something that took a lot of tries down to like the 1 tablespoon.
Yeah.
It was also a recipe that I wanted to make cut in half easily, both if you're measuring for volume, if you're measuring in grams, it's really easy. But if someone's using cups and measuring spoons, I wanted it to kind of split down the middle really easily. And then I wanted it to have a really great shelf life, which is something that I find challenging with enriched doughs that are just strictly butter based, because after the first day, they sometimes get a little bit too dry for my taste buds. So I added some coconut oil and just a little bit because that extra fat goes a long way.
Yeah.
I can't remember what, I mean, we worked with scalding the milk, not scalding the milk, bread flour, all-purpose flour, substitutes for potato flour if you don't want to find potato flour, which potato flakes work just as well. Just don't get the ones with the garlic and the onion in them.
Right. Great point.
And then just different methods of proofing. Some of the recipes, like the donuts, they really needed extra help proofing so that you could get that picturesque belly band around them when you fry. And so you, some of the recipes you want to do the initial rise in the refrigerator overnight and then the proofing at room temperature. Others, it's the opposite. There's just a lot of nuance in the application of this dough. And so I think, we've made hundreds of versions of this dough and hundreds of tests. And it was my poor assistant, Paige, she's so wonderful, but
She okay?
She's okay. She's so good.
She's standing.
But it was like, there was a period of, I think, months where every day she would come in and I would say, okay, we have to take a 1/4 teaspoon of salt down and try it all over again with all the recipes.
I appreciate whoever added this question to the list and hearing your answer. Just how lucky are we that Molly did all this and we don't have to. We can just follow her recipe. It's amazing. Okay, we are just about out of time. You all were so punctual, so I want us to be punctual. But before we go, I just have a few just little rapid fire recipe questions. Just again, without overthinking, and just tell us which recipe from the book. So basically, being a cookbook author myself, a question I get asked a lot that it's just impossible. It's what's your favorite recipe in the book? Which is, of
Like,
course,
who's your favorite pet? Who's your favorite child? Like,
yeah. It's a,
we have them, we just can't.
yeah. I was about to say, I can tell you which pet is not my favorite. It's the bird. I mean, he's amazing. It's a lot of work to have a bird. Anyway, sorry. Sorry I said it out loud.
Sorry, bird.
He knows. So I just came up with
He knows?
Yeah, he knows. It's fine. I came up with a few little
Bird therapists.
Yeah, we're working on it. I came up with a few little scenarios. So instead of your favorite recipe, just tell us what recipe from the book fits the following scenario.
Okay.
Just first thing to come to mind. Your in-laws are coming to stay with you for the weekend. What's something you want that we can make and just leave on the counter for everyone to kind of nosh on throughout the weekend?
The halva walnut chocolate scone loaf.
Ooh. Yum.
It's a scone that retains its moisture, so it'll stay moist throughout.
There's a theme.
Yeah. I use the word moist too many times. I'm sorry.
People hate it. It doesn't. It's that word.
We're okay with
means
it.
whatever. Yeah.
We normalized it by now.
It's fine. Yeah, you're doing great.
You can cut off a slice. You can rip off a chunk. And it's just it's not overly sweet. It's a nice snack. There's protein from the walnuts.
Yeah.
It's a great little nibbly bit.
Yeah,
to have
nutty, delicious. Okay.
Unassuming.
It is your spouse's birthday. What's for dessert?
Ooh, okay, he loves a yellow cake.
Oh, So does Grace. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Wait. Oh, no, that's not the happy wife cake.
Chocolate cake.
It's the
Grace
chocolate
just likes
cake.
cake. Yeah. Good memory. Good memory.
But over the years, the cake has just gotten more dense and dense and dense, and now it is a cookie bar. So
You just press the cake down really hard.
Hey, did you ever do this thing at summer camp? They would put the Wonder Bread loaf at the middle of your table, and you would take all the innards about it and like make a ball. And
I didn't, but I'm with you.
I love that texture.
Yeah. Okay.
I love a chewy texture.
Yeah.
Like a once fluffy, now chewy texture. So we did this to the yellow cake.
Condensed.
Now it's a cookie bar. It's chewy. It still has a rich chocolate frosting.
Delicious.
The ratio of bar to frost. Sorry, this was supposed to be quick fire.
No, I love it.
The ratio is really good too.
Yeah,
So you
sounds
get
great.
you get more in every bite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And easy for a crowd.
Easy
Cookie
for a
bar.
crowd?
Yeah, I love that.
Takes full of sprinkles.
Okay, two more. Your neighbor just went through something hard, whatever it might be, and you want to drop off something. What are you bringing?
A snack cake. I have it's a chocolate chunk whole wheat snack cake that I say it kind of has a no makeup look.
Like me.
It's just it's so lovable. It's casual. It's a casual cake. It's a comforting cake. It's just something you really want to eat, and it's ready soon. So you could theoretically make it and drop it off, or pour the glaze on, drop it off, and it's still warm.
Yeah.
And it's like a chocolate chip cookie and cake
That
form.
sounds great. That sounds
we
like.
did this.
I feel like we should all just make that for our neighbors, right? The world would be a little
world would be a better place.
Okay, my last question. I'm literally asking because this has happened in my life. One of your really good friends just had a baby, but she lives far away.
Wait, so you just did this?
I went to see her. I got on an airplane. Well, but now I want to mail her. So I want to bake something and mail.
Oh, okay.
So what can I bake from here and put in the mail to her? Like I could do FedEx. Like it could get there soon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
But something that will withstand being in a box.
Withstand being in a box. Could it be like a variety of jars? Could be 3 jars.
Sure.
Okay, we're doing furikake puppy chow.
Oh. That did look really good.
Puppy chow is so good.
Yeah.
And then the little bit of C from the furikake is really nice with the peanut butter. Mandel bread cereal.
Amazing.
Mandel bread cereal. And it's easy to make a lot of little cookies because you're chopping it anyway, right?
Yeah.
It could be 2 jars.
That's 2 jars. We're going 2 jars. Yeah.
I love all those ideas. Molly, thank you so much. And thank you for putting so much into your work. It comes through.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Books are magic. We love books are magic.
Thank you.
This is my
Thank
copy.
you all so much for coming out tonight. I just have a few final reminders before we all wrap up for good. First, if you're still with us on the YouTube live stream, you can buy a copy by clicking the link in the live stream description. I forgot about that earlier. If you're here with us tonight, we've got plenty of additional signed copies of Sweet Farm, Home is Where the Eggs Are, and Julia's most recent cookbook, What Goes With What. And we've got a lot of extra tahini. So if you buy the book, yes, with the jar, and then obviously you'll be like, what do I do with this jar of tahini?
There's a lot of recipes.
Open the book.
Exactly. So definitely check those out. I think that's all I have to say. As a reminder, no signing line, but again, all the books are signed, so they are great for your kitchen, great for your friends. Get a bunch to give to all your family. That's all. Thank you all again for coming.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Hey.
Mama.